Hello, everybody. I'm Jacamian. I'm with Holly. Today, we're going to be talking about the godfather of scientific management, Frederick Taylor. So, Frederick Winslow Taylor was born 1856 to 1915. He's known as the father of scientific management. He was born to the Quaker of aristocracy of Pennsylvania. Initially, he planned to go to Harvard to become a lawyer until he had an eye injury that prevented him from reading. He went to work at a factory called Midvale Steel Company, which was family owned, and so he pretty much knew the people that worked there. He rose through the ranks quickly and was eventually promoted to chief engineer. While he was working, he witnessed acts aimed at limiting or reducing production, including having his tools destroyed. Taylor contributed to the use and synthesis of management by pioneering time instruction for workers, planning and standardized equipment studies. He also studied division of labor based on function, control systems, and written notes. So, what is scientific management? Scientific management is a management approach aimed at improving economic efficiency and labor productivity. By conducting research, collecting data, and applying the scientific method, managers can identify the most efficient ways to complete tasks, also training workers to maximize their efficiency, leading to higher productivity. The core principles include selecting methods based on science, assigning tasks based on workers' aptitude, monitoring performance, and properly dividing the workload. He was also the godfather of the assembly line, which Henry Ford adopted to make the Model Ts. And here is a quick, funny video.
Let me tell you about a theory of a unique alliance combining two things, management and science. Frederick Winslow Taylor was one of the earliest scientifically studying the work process in the US in the 1880s, mostly within manufacturing industries. It's all about improving economic efficiency, especially when it comes to labor productivity. Optimize the tasks that are performed each day, ensure these jobs are done the one best way. With logic, work ethic, and some empiricism, this school of thought is sometimes known as Taylorism. But whether you are skeptical or feel quite adamant, this is the theory known as scientific management. We hope you've had
Principles of scientific management. First, they develop a science for each element of a man's work, which replaces the old rule of thumb method. Secondly, they specialize, select, and then train, teach, and develop the workman, whereas in the past he chose his own and trained himself as best he could. So this is basically instead of the person they hired, him going out and learning on the job and learning pretty much figuring out on his own. They pretty much hire people to train him so he can go and be actually efficient and productive out in the work environment. Third, they heartily cooperate with the men to ensure all the work being done in accordance with the principles of science which has been developed. Fourth, there is an element almost equal to division of the work and the responsibility between the management and the workmen. The management, excuse me, the management take over all work for which they are better fitted than the workmen, while in the past almost all the work and the greater part of the responsibility were thrown upon men. So basically, this is just them splitting the work between the managers and the workers. The management has their specific job, and the workers have their jobs, which are they're the frontline workers, and they manage work behind the scenes, obviously. And they also train the managers to train the future workers or new employees that they hire.
Awesome. So, scientific management present day. So, it's incredibly relevant. Efficiency and speed are still really vital in many of the industries, from the Ford original assembly line to now fast food. Even more interesting is that Taylor actually changed the way that we buy shovels. He performed a time test where he took a shovel and measured a team of men how long it took them to shovel a pile of rocks and move that pile of rocks across a set of time. and then he took a piece of that shovel off, a little piece of the steel piece, and he kept doing that until he noticed that their time was getting quicker and quicker and quicker. And eventually the shovel was optimized where he was able to find out when the optimum weight for that shovel. He would stop taking metal pieces off when their time started going back up. So when you walk into a hardware store today, all of those different shovels, those are from his principles and his time test. So something that random, much going into a sub shop, which is part of what this video I thought was very interesting.
Robinhood Gold offers a high APY on uninvested cash. Join Robinhood Gold now.
See all kinds of different shovels, shapes, and sizes, and this is all influenced by Frederick Taylor, his experiments, and his thinking, certainly by extension, after that. But it's not just shovels. You see this everywhere. Like today, in fact, if you go to a sub shop and order a sub, at the end of the line, they're going to ask you if you want anything on it, like mustard. And they pick up their dispenser and they do about 3 swipes across to put that mustard on. And then they kind of look up at you like, is that enough? And you decide whether or not you want more on there. There's a competitor, however, that has a nozzle with 3 spouts on it. And that means that they do 1 squeeze, 1 motion across, and now the mustard or the ketchup is done. And so they're saving 2 motions. They're saving just a couple seconds on that one little step, but they're able to make that sub a little faster. Now, if you break down the process of making a sub into 20 or 30 steps and you figure out a way to speed up each of those tiny little steps, how to cut the bread, how to put the meat on, how to put the lettuce on, how to cook it, etc. Now you can crank out more sandwiches per hour with fewer employees, more sandwiches per day total, and you're making your company more money. And it's not just subs. If you go into just about any fast food restaurant, especially the franchises, you're going to see that they have figured out a very quick method, the one best way to make almost every single product they make. If you're making 1 burger versus 2 burgers, for example, you don't make it the same way. You have to increase your productivity. So you see this just about everywhere. The guy who took this to the next level was Henry Ford. Of course, he's the founder of the Ford Motor Company that's still in existence today, still thriving.
So that video showed how relevant it is today, whether it's selling food or how the workforce was deeply impacted. But Frederick Taylor was also known for this quote right here. In the past, the man has been first. In the future, systems must be first. Unfortunately, this stance was highly criticized, and his methods left individual workers with no attempt really to excel or think because they were doing stuff from medieval times. Line workers actually became dehumanized as he prioritized his machine over man, and unfortunately, the psychological and the physical effects of those very repetitive tasks, it led to a lot of strain, both mentally and physically. So factory conditions were also incredibly dangerous at this time, and workers were consistently pressured by Taylor's obsession with time and that optimization of getting everything as efficient as possible. And while specialization also is efficient, it also discouraged people from deviating or experimenting in any way, stepping outside the box, and it prevented a lot of new methods and other ideas to develop. So did find a little bit of video here as well about a gentleman speaking of what it was like to work in Henry Ford's factory, which again was heavily influenced by Frederick Taylor's methods, and they actually worked pretty closely together. So
Ford's private security force, the Plant Protection Service, kept discipline. Anyone who recruited for the unions was fired. Company spies kept a lookout for those considered to be troublemakers. Workers on the Rouge lines had never had job security. Now those lucky enough still to have jobs became increasingly powerless.
You couldn't even talk to guys on the job. not let the foreman see you. There were whispering going on and whatnot. My friend of mine was fired 3 times, a guy by the name of John Gallo, for smiling. If you went to the bathroom, you had to get permission from your supervisor. And if you was in there over 3 or 4 minutes, you would had one of the service guys, if you had to use the bathroom to relieve your bowels, he would come up and put his foot where you flush, and he says, stand up. And when you stand up, if there wasn't something in that toilet, out you go.
Unfortunately, I can't even fathom what the consequences of what that kind of controlling environment would be like today, which actually leads me to this slide right here, because Frederick Taylor would be the walking, talking, modern-day HR violation. Due to his machine over workers viewpoints and his mindset, the workers did eventually start to unite, and they wanted to improve their working conditions. They also really prioritized workers' rights and wanted just to improve this very toxic environment that they were put into, of everything being so money driven and quick, and production being as fast as possible. So nowadays we actually have a human resource department, and the human resource department does have many roles, and they are very critical. But one of their tasks is they do ensure that all of their employees are being treated incredibly fair, that their working conditions are healthy, that they're not facing a lot of the issues that we saw during the Frederick Taylor time. So these are just some of the ways that we improved on his somewhat dehumanizing views. A large portion of the companies today have actually been able to create this balance, because while you do want efficiency, you have to leave room for innovation as well. So a lot of our modern day companies have found this happy medium of implementing both, so we're still, again, Frederick Taylor's methods and principles are still incredibly relevant today, although they have been tweaked and developed, and some of the heavier criticisms has been improved upon. So overall, again, he was a vital source of efficiency, created the assembly line and the production to what we see today. And as long as we maintain that balance between efficiency and humanity, I think that we will continue to thrive and see workers both efficient and in a healthy environment. So, scientific method.